Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please make sure you do subscribe so that way you don't miss a video. And that way you also not only support me, but you help everybody else get access to this content and find this content most importantly. And if you don't yet follow me on Instagram, link is below. Make sure you follow me on Instagram as well, not only as a way of supporting me, but most importantly, that's where I show up for all of you and offer you daily tips, guidance, advice, and weekly Q&A. Definitely a great place to interact with me one-on-one on daily basis. Today, let's talk about family. I know that for a lot of you, families are no fun. I know that for a lot of you, families are stressful. I know that for a lot of you, families are very difficult to navigate. Some of you may even have families that are not adjusting or adapting to your gender identity. Some even have families that are outright toxic or even abusive. So today I want to cover three strategies, give you three tips and break them down on how to navigate unsupportive family members. Now, this could be anywhere from your immediate family, such as your parents, to your siblings, to your distant family, cousins, uncles, aunts, grandparents, to even more distant family. It also could be people in your life that you do consider family. Remember, we're not stuck with the family members we have. We can definitely redefine who our family members are. And I know that for a lot of people, when they especially start on their journey path and when they come out, I know that families can react in a number of ways. They can either immediately elicit a lot of support, only later to backpedal on the support. I see that happen a ton when at first they're warm and fuzzy, it will love you no matter what. And then later down the road, suddenly they completely disappear. To being very resistant, having a very strong pushback from the get go, to being somewhat somewhere in between, maybe taking a stance back, wanting some time to process. So family fall in all different types of groups and categories, including the ones who are just always supportive. And you have family that is very supportive. I think that's wonderful. And I think that that's just really very fortunate to have. So what do you do when some members in your family, at least, are being very unsupportive? And again, unsupportive could be anywhere from they are misgendering you, even though you assert yourself, and they continue to misgender you, to the constantly question your gender identity, and they second guessing all of the things you're doing, and they're questioning whether what you're doing is right, whether they are sending you. I had this happen to with a client. They will send my client a ton of articles or videos from people such as, for example, Matt Walsh, discussing other things, stories of people who have detransitioned, all sorts of behaviors. So when your family is one way or another is not being supportive, the number one and the best strategy in the whole world is establish and maintain your boundaries. This is such an important strategy that I even have a masterclass on how to identify and set your gender boundaries and how to also figure out if you fall more into people pleasing category, afraid rocks the boat category. If you're interested, link to all of my classes below. You can check it out. It's a great class. But your first and most important strategy is going to be establishing and maintaining what your boundaries are. Now, it could be starting from the get-go, what are the clear communication limits? For example, it could be as simple as um, these are my pronouns and my name, right? And if you continue to misgender me and it appears to me that you are not even trying, my boundary limit is I'm not going to engage in communicating with you. I'm not going to engage in dialogue with you because it's hard for me to engage in dialogue with you when you don't respect who I am. So it could be something as simple but as powerful from the get-go to set those boundaries, right? Another thing that a lot of people don't think about is deciding on um, what would be a safe place for you, right? What would be a safe environment for you? Like, what would be a safe outlet for you, especially when you're traveling toward family for holidays? Having an idea, what would it look like for you? If you have large families and there's a family member that is very toxic and abusive, is there a space where you can go? Is there a place where you can withdraw and give yourself distance from that family members? That's another really important boundary. A lot of times we forget the physical boundaries, the boundary of the space, which is so, so important and so essential for so many of you. So establishing those parameters. I had people for whom the physical boundary space had to be, I'll come and visit, but I won't stay with you. I will stay in a hotel nearby. It had to be to such an extent because they just needed to completely be separate and apart during the time when they did not see their families. And that could also be a boundary for you. Depending on your family and lack of support, you're going to have to decide what works best for you. Now, families again range, and sometimes not all family members are the same. There are going to be family members that are going to be more supportive, some are going to be neutral, and there are, like I said, going to be one or two or maybe more. But I find it that oftentimes there's like a one family member that is so obnoxious and so unsupportive and has to rub it in your face and has to vocalize things and has to express how they just don't believe gender exists and how there are only two genders, and go on and on and on and on. It's almost like politics, right? There's always that one family member that just has got to, I call it, got to have their verbal farce and stink up the whole room. So you could have that one family member. In this case, another boundary that you can set is how are you going to limit your exposure and your interactions with that particular family member? What is it going to look like for you? Would it be withdrawing you from a conversation? Would it be to first set your boundary when that happens and vocalize to the person, hey, when you bring this up, I'm just going to leave the room. And that way, when it does happen, you established your clear boundaries and you exercise them. But how can you limit exposure to that? Because honestly, it can resurface some of the trauma for some individuals. Maybe if your family is big enough, can you hang out closer to the family members who are your allies, who support you, and further away from this family member? Ideally, I would guess a lot of you would want to avoid family members that sinks up the room regardless, right? Nobody wants to be around negativity. Negativity breeds negativity. So those are things you can do. First and foremost, boundaries. Establish your communication boundaries, very important. Establish your physical space boundaries and establish your limitation to exposing yourself to negative interactions with particular family members. So boundaries is going to be strategy number one. Strategy number two on what to do when you have unsupportive family members is, here's the thing. You do have a choice to build your own chosen family and support network. And that's going to be one of the most important strategies for those of you for whom pretty much all of your family members are negative, toxic, unsupportive, um, especially if they're abusive. And the way that you can build your chosen family is first and foremost, look around your circle and identifying who among people around you are your allies, who are your friends, who are your biggest cheerleaders, who are your supporters, who are people who care about you, who are people who you can call in the middle of the night and they're there to pick up the phone call. Those people who are in proximity to you, who have you back, can be your chosen family. Now, sure, you don't have to have them adopt you and you don't have to sign some kind of family agreement, but as long as you perceive and feel them as a chosen family, that could be incredibly, incredibly powerful. Remember, your immediate family, just because they're your immediate family, doesn't mean they are the only families that you can nor should have. So look around, see who you are, see who you are close friends. Then look around in your community. How can community be you extended, in this case, family? either LGBTQ groups. Now, I know that not everybody is a fan of LGBTQ or trans spaces. They don't work for everybody, and that's okay. That's all right. We all have to find what works for us. It may work for some of you. In that case, it can feel very empowering to be around other trans folks. Your community doesn't have to extend only to people who are gender diverse. It could be church. Yes, it could be church. As much as church and religion, and I think in Western culture, primarily Christianity, has really left a bitter, negative, almost traumatizing feeling for so many people. There's still so many churches that are supportive, inclusive, and just absolutely amazing. There's a pastor on TikTok I've seen many years ago. I don't remember his name, but he almost made me cry every time I heard him express support and his inclusion of trans people. It was so beautiful. So remember, your church can be your community. Other groups can be your community in your chosen family. If you belong to a group, for example, of every month's crime novel reads, and you really connect to that group, that also could be your chosen extended family. It can be any community that you feel strongly a part of. Don't be afraid to connect, and don't be afraid to spend more time with places and spaces that truly nourish you versus leave you feeling very neglectful, malnourished, and make you feel shitty about yourself. Nobody should feel that way. So definitely churches, LGBT support groups, all of those things are going to be important. Another thing that is going to be important in terms of choosing your extended family or cultivating support network is going to be online social mentors. What do I mean by that? This would be people who either trans or not, they don't have to be trans, who inspire you, who make you feel powerful, empowered. It could be, maybe it's me, I don't know, maybe it's lucky me who, when I show up and I talk about something, I uplift you, I support you, I care about you, and that comes across, and you feel seen, and you feel validated, and you feel cared for. And maybe you follow me and watch my content because I extend that to you. That could definitely be your support network. Maybe for you, it's somebody else. Maybe it is Celine Dion. I mean, have anybody seen her documentary? What a powerhouse. My goodness, she broke my heart. Maybe it's somebody else. I follow Tony Robbins. I love the guy. He just uplifts me. I want to be like a female Tony Robbins, please. The guy, the powerhouse. So every time I see him, he feels so genuine. He feels so compassionate. He motivates me. So, who are those people? And they don't have to be big personalities. I'm not a big personality. Who are those people out there that they just make you smile, they just make you feel good, make you feel uplifted? Follow them, have them become part of your extended social network family. Yes, we're all family. Nobody exists in a vacuum. Nobody does it alone. Trust me, not a single person does anything alone. I may be one woman show doing everything about my business, from creating all of my content by myself to generating ideas, but I still don't do it alone. Even the ideas I generate are come from tremendous amount of help and support from all of you. So remember, none of us exist alone. So that's the second strategy you can do, is create your own chosen family and build your own supportive social network. Now, the third and the final strategies that you can utilize when your family is being unsupportive is start incorporating and start practicing and start building on your self-care and your personal empowerment toolkit. We all live in a world where, with today's social media, it is so easy to get wounded. It is so easy to get traumatized. It is so easy to get hit by anger and hatred, because today everybody has their devices at their fingertips. And it doesn't take people long to type something nasty, to say something negative that's going to affect somebody. And so, because we're all swimming in each other's energies one way or another, Some people's energies are not good. Some people's energies are not clean. Some people's energies are very wounded. Hurt people, hurt people. When people are negative, they're triggered. When they're triggered, they have wounds. When they have wounds, they have unhealed things that they need to take care of, and that's their responsibility. When people very reactive, that means they are entangled with projection that is their own. Nobody who is mindful, responsible, assertive, and accountable is reactive, is nasty, is mean. Now, they may give you constructive feedback, but it would be mindful. So, because we live in such world, having a self-care, personal development, personal empowerment toolkit that you can carry around with you, metaphorically speaking, is going to go miles and miles away. People say that it's exposing yourself. For example, when I started out, people said, "Oh my God, you're brave. You're going to get so much shit. There's so many haters. It's going to make your skin thicker." I don't think that makes your skin thick. It has not made my skin thicker. I think what it does is put you in a position to either take care of yourself by utilizing your toolkit and then creating even more strategic toolkit, or falling apart. And it's all within your control. So for all of you dealing with family members who are unsupportive, what is in your self-care toolkit? It could be, for example, working and constantly developing affirmations that are very positive, uplifting inner self-talk, and especially self-talk around positive self-image. Because when people say or hurt us, or when they're being toxic, or when they're being vindictive, our inner critic is the inner critical voice, the one that comes out. And our inner critic is wrapped up in a negative self-talk, such as the right, I suck, I'm horrible, nobody will ever love me. So having positive, affirmative things you can say to yourself, the positive self-talk, is going to go a long way for you. To remind yourself that is their projections. I know I'm worthy. I know that I'm lovable. I know that I am strong and powerful and beautiful, are going to help you. So having something even as simple as the self-inner affirmation is going to really help you. Another thing that I want you to have in a toolkit is engaging in gender affirming activities and gender affirming expressions, because those things are going to connect you to yourself. They're going to make you feel more seen, and they're going to make you feel more empowered. It could be, for example, any kind of gender affirming activities that feel like they're aligned with your true authentic self. It could be any expression, from clothing to the ways that you maybe express yourself verbally, to the ways that you walk, to the ways that you carry yourself, that feels very, very affirmative, right? We all have self-affirming expressions and presentation. For me, for example, I shine when I put on big glasses, big jewelry, red lipstick. I feel so confident. I feel so seen. I feel so like myself. Not to forget the black eyeliner. I feel so much like me. Well, this is my personal self-affirming tool. What is it for you? What works for you? What gives you that empowerment? What makes you feel amazing? What fires up things inside of you? Final thing that I want you to have in a toolkit is stress reduction techniques. What things help you in a healthy coping way reduce stress? Is it going for a walk? Is it stretching, yoga, meditation? Is it, for example, getting together with friends and allies? Is it turning on social media page of your supportive social network person, Tony Robbins for me, and just watching some of that person's reels and feel uplifted? What helps you take your stress from 10 to 5, 4, 3, 2, ideally 1 and 0? In a healthy, I'm emphasizing healthy way because I'm sorry, a martini which I love, is not a self reduction technique. It's a temporary band aid. Binge watching something for hours and hours is not a self reduction technique. Emotional eating is not a self reduction technique because those things all have traces of consequences. Hangover, feeling bloated, feeling like you just wasted a lot of time. So, what is that healthy self reduction technique is for you? And it could be taking a nice hot bath, it could be going for a body massage, it could be just snuggling with your pet, it could be any one of those things that uplift you and again take your stress from 10 to 5, 4, 3, 2, ideally 1 or 0. So those are the three best strategies that I recommend when you're dealing with unsupportive family. One, setting your boundaries from the get-go. Be very clear on what your boundaries and limitations are. Two, building a chosen family and building a social support network around you. Because remember, none of us do this alone. You don't just exist alone, you always have people around you. And three, self care and personal development toolkit that is going to be with you. And ideally, that it's constantly going to grow and modify it as you find what works for you and you remove those tools that no longer serve you. Write down below, share with everybody else what are your strategies when it comes to unsupportive family members. How do you cope? What do you do? What helps you? Share with everybody else. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.